This is the second video in our series about Microsoft OneDrive, Microsoft SharePoint. So this video, we're going to be looking at how do we sign in the OneDrive application on our computer so that we can synchronize our files to our device and have access to them. So if you're using Windows like we are here, Windows 10, Windows 11, they both come with OneDrive pre-installed, and you'll see that in the little cloud icon here in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you can't see that, it could be that it's in the hidden icons area. You may see a little arrow just here. Click on that and you'll see the cloud. You can drag it from the hidden area down to the taskbar area here so it's more visible for you. Currently, our OneDrive is not signed in. We're seeing a white cloud here with a line through it. That's telling us we're not signed in. However, if we are signed in, you won't see a line through it. It will be a solid cloud. And there are two colors. The white cloud, as you can see here, is OneDrive Personal. This has got nothing to do with Microsoft 365. So we'll see in a minute how that differs in a second. If it's blue, then that is OneDrive for Business, which is what we're talking about here. This blue icon here for OneDrive for Microsoft 365 for your work account. If you're using Mac, you'll need to install OneDrive from the App Store, and then you'll see the cloud across the top of the screen here. But after that, the experience is exactly the same. So let's click on the OneDrive icon here in Windows. And as it's not signed in, we have the option to sign in. Now, if your computer or device is a managed device as part of your business, it's possible that OneDrive is automatically signed in when you log into your computer for the first time. That's great. You don't need to worry about this step. But for those that are not on that type of setup, you'll need to click sign in. So when you click on sign in, you'll get a prompt pop up asking you for your email address. So in here, we need to enter our work email address. So I'm going to do that here, like so, and then I'm going to click sign in. We should then get prompted to enter our password. And if we have multi-factor authentication, then we'll do that as well. So let's throw our password into the screen here. There we go. And now our multi-factor authentication code, which would normally be on your Microsoft Authenticator app. And then we click verify. Now, if you get a prompt like this, in Windows 10, it looks a bit plainer. Do you want to sign into all apps, websites, and services on this device? So just a little warning about this. Know what you're doing. If you literally just want this account here connected to OneDrive, you would say no, this app only. If you say yes, then what happens is this account will be connected to your Windows profile, and any Microsoft app, whether that be Edge, Outlook, Word, Excel, OneNote, etc., will all be connected to that account, which would save you signing in multiple times to those apps and so forth. Very convenient, but if you're signing into, say, a second account, let's say this is not your primary account, you may just want to say no, this app only, because otherwise you may find you're saving stuff in places you didn't expect. So for your primary account, generally we'd recommend yes. If this is a second account you're logging into, let's say the accounts inbox or something like that, then say this app only. In this case, I'm just going to say for the purpose of demonstration, this app only. And what happens is now it goes through and just finishes the sign-in process. Our cloud has now turned blue, but we're still not fully connected. You see the line signed in. It's now asking us where we're going to store our data. So it's going to save our data in this path on our computer. Maybe you want to change that. You can do that with the change location. 99 times out of 100, you're just going to click next. Let's do that. Now, we mentioned in our previous video that OneDrive has the ability to back up your documents, pictures, and desktop from your computer, whether that be your Windows computer or your Mac, into your OneDrive cloud. Very useful. Because it means anything you're saving to these folders is backed up into your OneDrive in the cloud, which also means it's accessible from your other devices. So if you have more than one computer or you have a smartphone or tablet, you can access files that you save to your desktop from your iPad or your phone, for example. So we're going to turn that on, start backup. If there are already files in the backup folders, they will now appear on this computer once the sync process begins. Our little line has now disappeared. Let's click next. And we get a little bit of tutorial. We'll go next again, and we're not going to worry about the mobile app here. We'll go later. Open my OneDrive folder. So you'll see now inside Windows, we have got, if I just make this a bit wider, OneDrive Extreme Training. That will be your business name, whatever it's set to inside Microsoft 365. And these are the folders here that are in my OneDrive in the cloud. Let's look at that side by side. If I jump back to my browser, I'm going to click on OneDrive in the web-based version and click on My Files. Let's bring back File Explorer, and if I just drag this across, you'll see that the folder names are exactly the same in the web-based version and what we're now synchronizing on our computer. Just a couple of little tips while we're in here. So inside the OneDrive folder, there is a status column. These files here are showing blue clouds. This is telling us that these folders exist inside our OneDrive in the cloud. If you see any files where you have a green circle like this with a green tick inside, that means there is a copy of that file, or shortcut in this case, on this computer. And if it's a solid green circle, that means you have opted to keep that file on your device. So let's just briefly walk through that. I've got a Word document here, currently in the cloud. If I try and open that Word document, OneDrive will try and open that file. I don't have Word installed on this computer, so we're just going to open this in Notepad, which is going to look like garbage, but that's okay. Okay, let's now close that. So you'll now see the status icon has changed to a hollow green circle. That means there's a copy of this file on this computer. If my computer was offline for any reason, I was working on the train, in the car park somewhere, I didn't have 4G, I could still access this file. However, any changes I make to the file while I'm offline will not be live synced back to my OneDrive. However, when OneDrive reconnects to the internet, any changes I make to that file will get synced, and it will stay hollow green for as long as needed. These files take up space on your computer, so if you have a lot of large files, especially video files and pictures and so on, eventually these will start to consume space on your device. The rest of these files, where there are blue clouds, they're not consuming really any space on the computer at all. I can remove this from my computer if I want to. If I right click, I can free up space, and that will remove the file from my computer, and the only copy that exists now is the one back in the cloud. You wouldn't normally do that on a file by file basis. What you would normally do is you would right click on your OneDrive folder here, and you would go free up space if you were running out of space, and that would clear all those cached or copies from your device. However, remember, the primary copy of the file is always the one that's in the cloud, okay, unless you've made offline changes to it. So that's nice and simple. You can right click on the file and also opt to always keep on this device. And when we do that, the icon changes to a solid green circle. When you free up space, that removes that option. So just be aware of that. However, that file, when it's in that state of always on this device, the OneDrive app and your storage center on Windows won't remove it for you. So that's nice and simple. How do you access some of the other settings? You click on the blue cloud. We've got a little notification symbol at the moment, and that's because OneDrive is notifying us something. We can close that, and that disappears. You'll see here all the last activity as we synced and open that file multiple times in our list here. We can click on the cog here and go into settings. And from here, I can manage my backup. So if I click on Manage Backup, if I don't want documents, pictures, and desktop backed up, I can toggle those on and off if I want to there. If I close that, however, normally you'd leave those on. We want OneDrive to start when we sign into Windows, definitely. We don't want it in a situation where it's not signed in. So tip number one, always make sure that the OneDrive cloud is showing there without any problems. Pause syncing when the device is on a metered network. This is talking about if you're on a hotspot, for example, off your phone and you have a limited amount of data, then you can pause synchronization so that you're not consuming all of your data or incurring additional cost. If we click on account, this is where we can add additional work or personal accounts. And you'll see here for this work account, we are syncing our OneDrive and it's using this much space on our computer. You can selectively sync folders as well. If I click choose folders, let's say, for example, I don't want the apps and attachments folder synced to this computer. I can click OK, and that will now remove those, as you'll notice here, from this device. They're not removed from the cloud. It's just what we're seeing locally. We can also see any notification settings here and a bit of information about the version number and so forth. So that's basically how to sign into OneDrive. Just to repeat, once you're signed in, you want that icon visible. You don't want it hidden. You want to keep an eye on it to make sure it's always signed in. And if there's any errors, you'll see a warning, a red warning symbol there. Follow up on it straight away. Click on the OneDrive icon and it will tell you here what the problem is. It could be there's a problem with one of the files you're trying to sync or save, or it could be there's a clash with what someone else has done. You want to resolve those problems as quickly as possible to make sure you don't get any future issues. If you want to sign OneDrive out and disconnect it from this computer, it's very simple again. Go back in the settings, And from on the accounts options here, you can unlink this PC, and that will sign you out and disconnect. What it will never do is it will not, once you're disconnected and unlinked, it will not remove this folder, OneDrive Extreme Training, from your computer. The status column will go empty, which says that these files are no longer in a state of sync, but the files and folders that you have synced previously will still exist on this computer. The same would apply if you're using OneDrive to synchronize a SharePoint site. So we're going to look at that in our next video.